The thing I took away from his class is I learned why people have foot fetishes.
Why?
It's because there's a map in your head called of the human brain. There's a map in your brain of your body. It's called the homunculus, and in it, your feet are next to your genitals. In your brain, like in your
Really?
yeah, and sometimes those get wired and crossed. That's why foot fetishes are like one of the more common fetishes. And in fact, like people who had like amputated penises or whatever, they can say if they rub their feet sometimes they can still feel it because the foot neurons have just like taken that spot over.
Fascinating.
Right. Yeah. He was one of my professors, but that's what I went to school with. Eventually, like I wanted to. I was basically I did the Indian thing of like the brown thing of being a doctor. That was the thing, you know.
Yeah.
All my family, like my cousins on my mom's side, were all really close. It goes like pharmacist, dentist, physical therapist, pharmacist, me, doctor, dentist, doctor. You know what I mean? It's like it's all that.
Right.
I come from one of those families, you know. And I knew I kind of never wanted to do that. I did this game plan where I figured out that I could get my BS degree without taking organic chemistry. Like there was a path for me to get the degree without taking organic chemistry. But you need to take organic chemistry to go to med school. So what I did is I didn't tell my parents I didn't take it. And then when I was like, oh, I'm a couple credits away, give me an extra year, it bought me some time. And then starting from year 2 is when I started writing jokes. Year 3 I was on stage.
So you had a plan.
I had a plan. I knew I wanted to do comedy. At a certain point, it was just that's what I was good at. That was my skill. My skill was making my friends laugh.
Well, I would think that understanding how brains work would help that.
Yeah. So the one thing I took away from that is like the focal point. We have like sort of when we pay attention to like an array of things. There's like and this is from my very limited understanding from what I remember, but there was like focal points that your attention is sort of primed to. So what I'll do now is like because I use the stage a lot more now when I perform. When I'm done with a thought or like a long thought and it's time for a new one, I'll go to either the stool or the mic stand, whatever felt natural, and I'll touch it, and then it's time for the new thing. And that after every big punchline, after the closing of every thought, I'll go back to that point and I'll touch it. It's a new thought.
Wow.
That's the one thing I've taken away. That's the big thing I've taken away. So it's just they're subconsciously now that they know that every time I touch this thing, it's a new subject.
Interesting.
That's definitely the one thing I took away from that. Yeah. So and. You know, I'll just whatever it is. After the first thing, after the first big like pop, I'll either touch the mic stand or the stool, whatever one I'm closest to, and then I'll just go back to that.
What would you do on a stage with no mic stand and no stool?
I would pick a spot on stage and look down.
Oh.
So
have you done that before?
That because sometimes now it's to the point where it's not like the stool every time. Like sometimes it's like this joke is a stool, next joke is here. So I'll just like get them used to like every time I do something interesting, it's a little different. But yeah, so sometimes I did this recently where I'll do this with my political stuff. I'll look down and not say anything.
And then, yeah. Interesting. That's interesting that you're consciously sort of directing that.
Yes. I know I truly have an audience when I do that sort of touch and it's dead silent in the room. Then it's like, okay, you're paying attention to me.
Right. I got you locked in.
It's so funny. You become so addicted to the laugh. And this is something that Derek always told me. He was always like, be comfortable in the silences. And when I thought about that and when I really applied that, I was like, oh, because when they're in the middle of a good set, if they're silent on not a punchline,
right,
that means you have them.
It means they're paying attention.
That means they're paying attention.
Yeah.
You know? And especially in an opening set, if I have them paying attention early, I can break them later. Especially if they're... I mean, you can almost always tell now with an audience going up top if they're going to be work or not based on how much they cheer at the opening, like the announcements that like Curtis or Jody or Kino give. So it's like I can sort of go into it knowing, okay, this is gonna be work.
Yeah.
This is gonna be work, and I've come up with like little sort of rituals now backstage too. I've sort of incorporated them. Like, I'm not a big UFC fan. Like, I've never, that's never really been my thing. But I'll do the thing where, because I know Adesanya is a big anime fan and Naruto. So, and growing up, I love Naruto. So I have a little hand signal thing that I do as well. Because there's
probably shouldn't have admitted that.
Yeah, no, I'll say there's a one move where they breathe fire. So I'll do the hand symbol and then it's time to breathe fire.
Ooh.
That's what I use it for.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's time to breathe fire.
That spot is so interesting because you're basically setting up the hypnosis,
right?
The opening spot,
right?
I always said that comedy is, in a lot of ways, is kind of a group hypnosis. When someone's on stage and they're killing, I'm letting that person think for me. They're taking me on a little ride, and I'm just surrendering my attention to their mind. And if they're doing it well and they're not clunky, it's like they'll take you on this nice journey, and it's really fun.
Right.
But you got to establish it. You're the first.
Right. It's almost like if we're going to use the I'm kind of the first hypnotist, but my job is to get them comfortable to be like, oh, I can sit in the chair where they can hypnotize me. And obviously I love those sets where they love you up top and you're just like the second show yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, from the beginning I could do no wrong. They just automatically loved the fact that they were here. But I really love those sets where it's like, oh, you didn't want to like me. You didn't want to like me, and I got you. You had some preconceived notion, especially some guy in Texas of maybe how I look, how I talk, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I broke through you.
Yeah.
That's always the best.
It's always a disaster when we have William go on first. William going on second is great, especially if they know William. It's great. But the problem with William going on first is he's so bizarre that people go, "What the fuck? What am I seeing? Why does this guy hate Paul Walker? Like, what is going on?
What's going on at the Chupacabra Cantina?"
Yeah, it's just, it's an interesting dance.
It is. It's a dance. It's definitely a dance.
Yeah.
And the way I described it to someone recently, it's like I'm teaching them where to put their foot, and if they step on me, that's fine, or if I step on them, it's fine. We're sort of learning for each other. But my job is to get it so whoever's on next, so Duncan yesterday, that they're automatically like, oh, Duncan steps here, we'll step here with him. Like the last guy taught us how to dance, now we can dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good like lesson in staying in the pocket too, of just like don't quit on this. I know it's there.
Yeah.
Don't quit on this. And it helps like now, like my showcase set yesterday.